hear the screams of children, secrets from beyond the grave. Your hands become clammy. You break into a cold sweat. You are being watched. And you are afraid.
Now that is one beautiful mural. What's up, you guys? Chet-Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all with episode 5 of my Haunt Season Series 2025. Can't believe I've been doing it for about 4 years now. It's a tradition of mine because I absolutely love this time of year. But anyway, you guys, I had a phone conversation with my friend Mr. Nomad Ben the other day. And as we were talking, I had a filming location in mind that I wanted to do that's a little bit up the road a bit of ways in Knoxville and the Tellico Plains area. But he brought this up to me. He said, Chet, you need to look up a horror film called From a Whisper to a Scream, but directed by Jeff Burr. Now, Jeff Burr, he was a local to the Dalton, Georgia area, and that's why he chose this location when he filmed From a Whisper to a Scream. And you all won't believe the name that is attached to this horror film from the 1980s. The one, the only Vincent Price starred in this film. And of all the things that could be in the world, Vincent Price, From a Whisper to a Scream, that was his last role, or his last role as a horror character. I mean, that's one of the things that Vincent Price is known for. He was known for his roles in classic horror. But From a Whisper to a Scream, that was his last film as well. From a Whisper to a Scream, that was the role that he took the least amount of money for. You see, between he and Jeff Burr, they were conversating back and forth via letters, and Vincent Price loved the story so much that he wanted to be a part of it. So if you all do not know the story with From a Whisper to a Scream, or known by its limited theatrical release title as The Offspring, it was a horror anthology series started off by a journalist who had witnessed the lethal injection, the execution of Catherine White, which was Julian White's niece. Now, this leads the reporter to the town of Oldfield, Tennessee, where she just wants to know more, or at least later on in the story, near the end, you will find out that she had been writing letters with Julian White, or with Catherine White, Julian's niece. And if you all know the ending of it, it's let's just say I won't blow it for you guys. I'll say that much. But Oldfield, Tennessee, as said by Julian White, Vincent Price's character, it is a cesspool of evil, thus leading to the reason why his niece got sucked up into it and started killing at the age of 7. But throughout the film, this entire project was filmed within the epicenter that was Dalton, Georgia, and the stories are really good. Like, I'm kind of surprised that it did not get more of a theatrical release, because compared to like the movies of the time, I kind of like that, like the Southern horror theme more than Freddy Krueger. And maybe I'm being biased because it's in my neck of the woods. But anyway, you guys, we are going to check out the filming locations of the 1987 cult hit horror classic, From a Whisper to a Scream. So anyway, let's check out this amazing movie history that's here in North Georgia. And to start things off, we are here at the studios at Dalton Station. Now, this is an apartment complex that was converted from the Downtown Motor Inn, which had been around for about 50 or 60 years at that time. But this building right here, this is where several of the set scenes were taken or filmed. Like, for example, the first story in the film, you will see Stanley and his love interest eating at a restaurant. I believe that that scene was filmed here. But as well, this is where the cast and crew stayed during the filming of the movie. And there are stories that circulate around line from locals, like the lady who previously owned this building. She recounted the cast and crew always playing pranks and tricks on one another and other employees that were here in the hotel complex. And as well, they stored all the props for the movie in the large walk-in coolers that are here on the premises. Although I don't know if those coolers are still left over. I do know that there was a headquartered part for the film, and they even had the demon zombie baby that you see in the first story. They had that in that building, although I don't know where that's at. It's somewhere in Circle Plaza here in Dalton, Georgia, which I don't really know where that's at, but that's where they all congregated. But yes, this is where all the cast and crew for From a Whisper to a Scream stayed, and as well as the interior shot scenes that were filmed as well. So anyway, guys, since we are in downtown Dalton, by the way, this is a beautiful mural, we are going to stop at the first real filming location of the movie, although we've already seen one, and that was the story of Stanley Burnside. And a large portion of the film was shot from the back side of a packing building, and that building still stands to this day. So anyway, let's get back on the road. Now, this next filming location, it took place where Mohawk Industries is here in Dalton. Now, Mohawk, it is a flooring company, but Stanley Burnside, which is an awkward grocer in the area of Oldfield, Tennessee, he lives with his awkward codependent sister Eileen. And now, for Stanley, he is smitten with a new worker that comes on at his grocery packing plant that he works at. Anyway, he falls for her, and one thing leads to another. And if you know the story, you all will know how strange it gets. But I would probably say about 40 to 50% of the film was filmed outside the packing plant. And this is it. I mean, if you line up shots, the van or the moving truck or the packing truck, or I guess how you would call it, it's sat right here. Stanley stood in these areas right here as everything was going back and forth into the packing trucks. Of course, this is where he's standing and he sends roses to his lover, or quote-unquote lover, which eventually he does the unthinkable. But here at Mohawk Industries, now things have changed since then. They've built onto this building because, from what I've understood, the filming location was here at the building. It was another carpeting industry before it was bought by Mohawk, but this is the area. Now, a lot can change in about 40-something years, but this is where this part of the film took place, right here. And I'm so cool that I'm standing here. Like I said, I believe I can line up some of the shots, which were probably shot right around in here. I mean, it's amazing how how time, like 40 something years can change so much in a location. And we'll be seeing that later on in this video with the second story, which is a good interesting tale of greed, but as Jesse Hardwick was used as an example. But there is one spot here in downtown that I want to see that is another filming location. And after I film that, we're going to go to the next spot. Now, there really wasn't a whole lot filmed in this one location, but one really well-known exterior shot, which was called BJ's Restaurant or BJ's Diner. An exterior shot of the restaurant was the restaurant sign was taken in this for the film, but this is the location where that exterior shot was taken. Now, I want to say maybe it's where Advantage Sports is now, the sign, but I'm really not too sure. But now let's get on to the second story. Now, in order to reach the series of filming locations for the second story, which was the tale of the con man between Jesse Hardwick and the seemingly immortal man known as Felter Evans, we have to go down about 20 minutes down the road from Dalton to make it to a road called Carbondale Road. And now, for the scenes that were a part of that story, you had a chase scene that started out with the McCoy brothers at Jesse Hardwick's trailer, which kind of led to a car chase down the road, you know. And if you've seen the movie, you all know he got shot, and he was rescued at first by Felter Evans, but quickly Jesse Hardwick's greed took over, and let's just say Felter Evans had already given Jesse the gift that he was so trying to get from him. Now, it's kind of hard to figure out where the trailer once stood. The trailer has long since been gone. However, the swamp and the crossing in the road where the scene or the chase was filmed, that's still here. And for the first part of this area, here is the break in the road, the split where Jesse Hardwick is running away from the McCoy brothers. And it's at this spot where he gets shot. And the best way to get an estimate or a guesstimate of where the trailer once stood is this is some information coming from a local. The trailer once sat right in front of the railroad tracks, right in front of a crossing. However, some time ago the crossing was closed, and there are two locations going down Carbondale Road that fit the description, but I think I figured out which one was which. And it's in this area right here. You see, here is where the railroad tracks once were, and if filming serves correctly, this is where Jesse Hardwick ran across the tracks trying to get away from the McCoy brothers, and this is where the trailer once stood, in that spot right there where that house is. And now to find where the swamp scene was filmed, or Jesse Hardwick falling into the river and being pulled out, as well as him trying to incapacitate Felter Evans, it was filmed right along Bandy Lake Road, which is just off Carbondale Road. And as you all can tell, it's a very swampy area, but there is one spot that you can line the shots up. And here, hidden in the corner, is where Jesse Hardwick fell into the water, and where all the scenes were filmed, or the iconic scene of the movie where the hands are reaching above the water and grabbing Jesse Hardwick and pulling him down. And you can also kind of see like why they chose this spot is because all they had to really do is put their camera like on the side, and they could have absolutely filmed all of it. However, I mean, there's a lot of other swamps, but this is it right here. This is what I've read from articles and reports, stories from locals. this is where the swamp scene was filmed for From a Whisper to a Scream, and the story with Felter Evans and Jesse Hardwick. Now for the third segment of the film, or I should say the third story, which was the story of Stephen and Amaryllis. Although the title of this story was Lovecraft's Traveling Amusements, and really what it was is it was an amusement, well, not really so much an amusement park, a carnival, kind of like a traveling carnival set around the 1930s. Well, Amaryllis, she comes to visit Stephen at every show, and Stephen, he's a glass eater, and well, Stephen is under control of a voodoo practitioner who runs the carnival, and in the end it turns out pretty bloody. But for the actual filming location itself, it was filmed here at Prater's Mill, which actually isn't too far from Tunnel Hill, Georgia, which we'll be heading to next to show the locations of the four soldiers. But here in this parking lot, this is where the carnival stood, and where much of the internal film scenes were filmed. It was all in this spot, and I want to say probably somewhere right around in here is where the voodoo carnival owner, where she finds that her I guess you could say her sidekick, or her guy that keeps watch over things, where he is stabbed by the midget who is the showman of the carnival. And anyway, near the end of the film, that's when she gets her revenge. She has a voodoo doll, and anyway, basically all the glass and all the other sharp stuff that he ingested, it all comes back to the surface, killing him. And Amaryllis, as payment, or I guess repayment for her, or for this voodoo practitioner losing one of our best showmen, or one of her best well, I guess one of her best people that she has up on the stage, she turns her into Amaryllis, the human pincushion. Therefore, nobody escapes Oldfield. Nobody. And for the other scene in this this tale, we must drive about 30 minutes east to the old Seymour Cemetery in Crandall, Georgia. Again, I find it so cool, like when you look at like all the filming locations, like they're all within 20 minutes of Dalton. So that makes so much sense why they used the Motor Lodge Inn as, or the Dalton Motor Inn, why they used it as kind of like their base of operations. Everything was 20 minutes away from one another. Now, in a hidden corner off a dirt road in Crandall, Georgia, is the old Seymour Cemetery. But if you all have seen From a Whisper to a Scream, this is the same cemetery where Amaryllis asked Stephen to meet her for a date, or for a picnic, which I find it kind of weird. But then again, it was a horror film in the 1980s, so I guess I could see why. But anyway, Amaryllis, or Stephen, is driving in his Model T off this exact same dirt road here, or really not even so much a dirt road anymore. And this is where Amaryllis is waiting for him. And aside from filming locations, this cemetery is interesting in its own right. Now, I don't think that the headstone that they had the picnic right under is real, but perhaps I can find it amongst the headstones if it is real. And if you're watching the still, you'll see Amaryllis walking down this particular stretch of graves, which means that this must be the the grave that they had their picnic under all those years ago. Amaryllis, Stephen, standing right here as they confess their love for one another, only for him to tell her, "Forget me, Amaryllis," because he was bound to being a glass eater. Very, very interesting movie. Very sad movie. Very, I like Jeff Burr's kind of horror. That's probably why he ended up being kind of more or less a one of the big names in horror films or B-horror films in the 1990s and early 2000s. Yeah, this is where that scene was filmed. And I can only imagine what this tree would have to say if it could speak about the movie that was filmed here. And we have one more series of filming locations from this movie, and that is at Tunnel Hill, Georgia, and it's called The Four Soldiers. For the final tale in the history of Oldfield, Tennessee, Julian tells Beth about how Oldfield came to be. And if you've seen the movie, you all will know it starts with 4 Union soldiers. They've broken off from their main group and they're being led by Sergeant Gallion. Now Sergeant Gallion, they find a camp of Confederate soldiers and they shoot. Even as they're being shot, the Confederate soldiers, they're waving white flags saying, "Stop, stop." Sergeant Gallion says, "I didn't see anything." And well, all of the men die. But that only leads to the men coming into the town of Oldfield, where they find an abandoned farmhouse filled with a group of kids, orphans, and it's become a cult. Well, all that was filmed here at the Tunnel Hill Train Depot, or the Tunnel Hill Train Depot historical area. There was even a Civil War battle that was held here. But the Clisby-Austin house, it's right over there. But before we see the building where most of this story in the film was shot, let's line up an external shoot. And that external shot comes from the actual tunnel itself. As you all can see, it's closed for the day. But how to replicate the shot from the movie is, well, we would have to go inside. I'm guessing probably about maybe 20-30 feet. And from there, we would have to catch the light as the men are walking along the tracks. Now there is another railroad tunnel, the new one. I forget when it was constructed, but that's an active rail line. I doubt that that's where this external shot would have been filmed at the other one, mostly because, well, if you've ever dealt with the railroads, something tells me that they'd probably get pretty annoyed if you cross the tracks on an active rail line in a movie. But now, let's head to the Clisby-Austin house. And here's the farmhouse, or in real life, the Clisby-Austin house. But this is where a majority of the Four Soldiers segment From a Whisper to a Scream was filmed. As you all can tell, compared to 1987, compared to now, mixed in with the film, the dramatization to make it look like a war-torn farmhouse, it's very, I mean, it's like night and day compared to what it is now. I mean, back then you had like all the leaves, all the dirt, you had the doors boarded up. Obviously it looked a little bit fake, but still really cool. In this house you also had the magistrate as well, when Sergeant Gallion, when it was revealed to him who the magistrate was, and when he was being fed by the little girl, and even in his final moments when they did their ritual outside of the Clisby-Austin house. And well, if you've seen the movie, he was burned to death practically in he was burned to death in a ritual. And well, this is that house. Now, after this story is told, that is when Beth reveals to Julian that she had been keeping in touch with his niece, Catherine. And well, that's when she stabs Julian, or Vincent Price's character, and that is when he delivers probably one of the best lines in the movie. "Welcome to Oldfield." And well, then he dies. But anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this roundabout filming location drive around through Dalton, Georgia, and the different types of corners. But I figured, since we are still in the area, let's check out the grave of the man behind this amazing production that was here and not far from my hometown. Let's check out the grave of Jeff Burr, and let's pay our respects. Okay, this might have been harder than expected. Anyway, I wanted to pay my respects to the man, but we might make another video out of that. Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this filming location video of From a Whisper to a Scream, or known by its well, limited theatrical release as The Offspring. Anyway, guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Always means a lot. Goes to show that you all care and that y'all want to see more awesome videos like this. So without further ado, you guys, this haunt season video is over. See you on the next one. Peace.